All right, welcome back to Fix My Law Firm. Now, one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking is, how do I spend less on marketing? Because they feel like they're spending a ton of money on the marketing side of their firm. Now, I will tell you, I am not a marketer, so I cannot speak to this as a marketing expert. But what I can do is I can take a financial perspective on this question and give you some feedback of, if I were the CFO for your law firm, here's how I would think about this topic. So, let's talk through a specific firm that is sent in the question. And so I'm going to read a little bit to give you a little bit of context about this firm. So here's what this firm owner said. All right. So they're a law firm that's doing about $5 million in revenue, and they're working so much that, to be honest with you, they hate the firm that they built. That's not a good thing. And one of the things that they're talked about a little bit more is that they feel like they're working so hard because they're just trying to cover payroll. They're trying to cover rent for this big office space that they have. And they're trying to keep a high volume of customers coming in just so they can cover those calls. So they're spending a ton on marketing to keep up with that. And at the moment, they have about 2 attorneys that are planning to leave the firm for various personal reasons. And wow. So that's a lot going on. And they feel like they're going to have to keep this up because now they're going to have to pay to replace these attorneys. All right. So here's the way I would think about this for this firm owner is, I would say, first, we should be pretty excited about the idea that you reach a $5 million firm. Like, most firms do not reach that level. That is an extraordinary level of success, which tells me there is something very valuable about your firm, your reputation, whatever you have going on. There is something very valuable there, and that should definitely be applauded of what you've been able to achieve, because not everyone can achieve that. The next thing that I would say is, although you're a $5 million firm, the question I would have is, do you still want to be a $5 million firm? Because I know you're bringing in all these cases and you're trying to keep up with where your firm is, and you're telling me that, hey, you got to keep this number of cases so you can cover payroll, you can cover the rent, and I get all that. But based on what you told me, you have about 2 attorneys that are leaving the firm soon, which means your payroll number is not going to be as high as it was. And then also, you're paying a lot of rent for the office space that you're in. Maybe it is time to really rethink the office space that you're in and ask, hey, with these 2 attorneys leaving, is it time for us to downsize our office space? Whether we reduce the amount of space that we're renting, or whether we look at maybe moving to a smaller place, or whether we sublease some of the space that we have. Can we reduce our footprint, which may also reduce the amount of costs? Because if you think about it that way, you say, how much am I paying on rent? If I can save some money from the rent, plus if we don't replace those 2 attorneys, then maybe there's a lot of money we can save, and maybe we don't need to be a $5 million firm in order for you to cover your expenses and still live the type of lifestyle you want to live as a firm owner. Because I am not a big fan of continuing to spend money or time and energy building something that you actually hate. So those are some of the things that I would think about. Now, to your specific question around how do you spend less on marketing, the way that I would look at this and say, what is the revenue goal that you actually want to achieve? And what we need to do is look at that. I call it the golden marketing formula. Because if you really want to understand how much money you probably should be spending on marketing, Here's a way to look at it. We'll start with what is your revenue goal? And then if we divide that number by your average case value, what that's going to tell us is about how many clients you actually need to achieve your revenue goal. Now, if we know how many clients you actually need, we can then take that number, multiply it by what your average cost to acquire a client is, and then that's going to give us a rough idea on how much you need to spend on marketing. Let's walk through it this way. Let's say if you need 800 clients to actually achieve your new revenue goal. And if it costs you, let's say, $200 to actually attract a new client. If we did that math, 200 times 800, that's going to give you about how much you should be spending on your marketing. Now, because we've already talked about you have 2 attorneys leaving, and that probably means you're not going to have be able to support the same number of cases. But since they are leaving, you don't have to cover that salary. So maybe what your real goal is, maybe your goal is $4 million instead of $5 million. And I get it. Most people don't like to take a step back, but I'm like, you said you hate the firm that you built. Maybe it is time to take a step back and say, hey, maybe we need to aim for a different goal. But let's say if your goal is $4 million, you don't need to bring in 800 clients anymore. Maybe you only need to bring in about 700 clients. If you don't need to bring in the same number of clients, you probably don't need to spend the same amount of money on marketing. But what you should do is have a conversation with your marketer and say, hey, here is the number of clients that we want to attract. Here's the number of clients that we roughly need in order for us to achieve our actual goal. Because what's probably happening is if you're working with a marketing agency, they're just trying to get you the most number of leads as possible. But if you actually go through the math with them and say, hey, we need X number of clients, how many leads does that translate to? And the marketing company can actually back into that to say, oh, if you only need 700 clients, we were actually trying to get you 1,000 clients. If you only need 700, maybe we can reduce the amount of money that you're spending on marketing because you can be a lot more strategic about it. So my advice to you as a firm owner is right now, congratulations, you made it to $5 million, but you said you hate the firm that you built. Maybe it's time to reassess what your actual goal is. And then after we reassess, we can figure out how many clients do you need to support your new goal. And then that probably is going to turn out to mean that you can spend less money on your marketing. You probably can maybe rethink your office space situation so you're not spending as much money there, because at the end of the day, I do want you to achieve a goal that you actually are excited about. Because if you continue to work hard and build this firm that you hate, you're eventually going to run out of motivation and energy to actually do it, and you're not going to be in a good place. So I would definitely recommend reassess the goal and then have a conversation with the marketing company to understand what does your marketing budget need to look like to achieve your new goal. So I hope that was helpful for you. And to everyone else listening, you should do the same for your firm. Don't just work to achieve a revenue goal that doesn't actually matter to you. Make sure you understand what is the goal that you want to achieve. And you can look at it to say, what's the lifestyle you want to live? And then what do the numbers need to look like to support the lifestyle that you want to live? And then build your budget from that perspective, as opposed to chasing a goal that you probably don't like and you're not motivated to really pursue. So until next time, thanks for tuning in.